Ryan, a couple years ago, we were treated to an unusual horror
Hmm.
film from
Yeah,
Blumhouse.
sure.
Um, Originally kind of thought to be a kind of Chucky knockoff.
Sure.
It kind of went its own way. And that movie was M3GAN with the creepy dancing doll. Now, 2 years later ish, M3GAN 2.0. She's still that bee. Um, Same cast: Allison Williams, Violet McGraw, and Amy Donald is back as M3GAN. We get a new robot, Amelia, played by Ivana Sacco, who played. She was in Pacific Rim 2. She was in not the Acolyte, Ahsoka, Shin Hati. And we also get Jermaine Clement and who was this guy? Oh yeah, Aristotle Atari plays Allison Williams' boyfriend. Allison Williams has kind of become an anti-AI crusader or anti-screen time person for the kids. Aristotle plays Christian, who runs a foundation with that goal. And yeah, things happen because the government's involved now. And they build a robot, Amelia, who goes off the reservation. Who could have seen the hyper powerful and intelligent artificial intelligence going off the rails? But here we are. Ryan, first off, did you think we needed a sequel to M3GAN?
It's a horror film.
It's a horror film,
It's a
sure.
horror film. Of course, we needed a sequel. Sure, why not? I don't know. I mean, I guess the question was, what direction are you going to take this in? And we have now learned what direction they're taking this in.
Sure,
But
sure.
it made so much money or enough money that you knew that it was inevitable. That's just kind of, I mean, the horror, even before things were as crazy as they are now, the horror genre was insanely obsessed with sequels. And
Yes.
so um anyone who has any affection for horror films knows that that wasn't always the greatest idea, but sometimes it worked out really well. And
Yep.
sometimes you got six or seven sequels, and three or four of them were actually worthwhile. So I don't know. I don't think that I think it was just kind of assumed that if M3GAN does well, it is going to have a sequel.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then. Apparently, there is some controversy about this film in that people do not want it classified as a horror film now.
Yeah,
They want it
well,
classified as a science fiction film.
I would not disagree with that at all.
So that's weird, and not a science fiction film in the way that Jason Goes to Space or whatever is a
No.
science fiction film from a
No.
horror franchise. This really is a fairly straightforward science fiction AI story. And you can see some of its its breeding from that aspect. Any movie with AI, you're going to see its influence in here. Any movie with a robot, you're going to see its influence in here. Um, any movie with an evil corporation, evil tech corp, you're going to see that influence here. So ultimately, then M3GAN 2.0 is going to live or die by how well or how much we like M3GAN 2.0, the robot, not the movie.
Yes.
Um, I like M3GAN 2.0. I think um, I like her character development, which sounds weird. And I love the way they explain her character development because they relate it to the other two AIs in this movie.
Yeah.
And they explain it. And it kind of becomes a primer for dealing with AI today. Now, the film is a little preachy early on. It's very much, it almost satirizes the issues that it's
Addressing, sure.
addressing.
And in
Um,
fact, I think, yeah, I think that's entirely accurate. I don't know. It's there are at times where I don't know how seriously this film wants to be taken, and
in
then there are
terms of
times,
those issues, quote unquote,
well, in general,
right?
but then there are times where I think it says, oh, no, 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 wait, we're really saying something. Um,
Yeah.
so I don't think it's quite balanced that out quite right. But
But so how do you like M3GAN 2.0, the robot?
do I like I made a joke about when Freddie got funny.
Right? Sure,
And
sure, yeah, yeah.
sure, sure, so this film feels very little like the first film, very little. Um,
Yes, because well, again, if we're going to change genres, I mean, part of this is a spy thriller. In addition to a science fiction film, but not a horror. All those horror, that horror tone is gone. So if you replace the horror tone with science fiction is often ripe for comedy, which I know when Freddy gets funny, ruins the
yeah,
horror.
yeah. Well, I don't know.
Um,
If it ruined it, but it changed the direction of the character.
right.
It redefined who the character was and what we were going to get from him. Um, yeah.
But again, I think they explained that tonal shift through M3GAN explaining it to Gemma, Alice Williams' character. The way she was in the first movie was a direct result of X.
Yes.
And once you're not in that situation and you watch and you do this and you learn and develop and evolve, um, because her mission goals haven't changed from the first film, but her understanding of the world in which she has to do that has changed. So I think it we often say smart. I'm going to say it's smart in terms of how it addresses that. I'm not saying that it's an incredibly smart movie. That's a separate issue. But I think it's smart in trying to justify that move away from the first movie. And I think it does so in a way that's adequate. But I don't think it's adequate if it's not another AI in the film. If it's a more conventional protagonist or antagonist, then I don't think that explanation works as well. But I think here it works well enough to allow us to move forward through the other stuff. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
I
mean,
like I think I like the film. I think it's enjoyable. I think it's fun. It's silly. It definitely has snark
oh yes, it is
throughout.
chock full of snark.
Um, is it original? Not particularly.
No.
Is it entertaining? Yeah, it's entertaining. And it should be noted that the original writer is not involved, and this is someone else's idea, and they kind of ran with it. And does it set up the possibility for future films? Yeah, it does.
But
Do I?
yeah, I don't even know that.
Well, but I think that's entirely based off of box office.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, at least the director stayed the same.
yeah. Um, Yeah, I think it's fine. I really don't know how else to, I don't think it's fantastic. I don't think it's horrible by any stretch of the imagination. I think if you're willing to accept that it's not a horror film and that it's more of an action film, and this is not the first horror franchise. I mean, if you want to get, I mean, not that the first Terminator film was a horror film, but it was a radically different film than what Terminator 2 was.
Yes,
And Terminator 2 Terminator 2 is a phenomenal film. So it's not like you can't do some and this is doing something similar to what that film did in that it's turning the antagonist into the uh not necessarily the protagonist necessarily, but a hero character
yeah.
rather than the villain. So, it's fine.
I think at best you could call her an anti-hero.
Yeah. but
She's very Deadpool.
yeah,
I know what the right result is, but I might do the wrong things to get there.
yeah, yeah. Um, there's dancing, of course.
There's dancing, of course, which
It's a
goes over really well until the end.
yeah, yeah,
So no, but yeah, I probably enjoyed it a little more than you. I still it's I don't think it's as good as the first. Um, Although if I sat down and did a now at this point, if we sat down and did a real breakdown of the first one, we could probably pick it apart
yeah. I mean,
in terms. So I was
yeah.
like, but I think just again, we talked about tropes when we talked about F1 a few
Hmm.
episodes ago. In sports movies and in horror movies and in science fiction movies, they have their tropes too.
Yeah.
And it's how you dress them up. And M3GAN dressed them up in a way that we hadn't really had before.
At least, yeah.
So, subjectively and objectively are two different things when you're talking about movies. And I'm sure if
Yeah.
we wanted to be hypercritical on M3GAN, we could be.
Yeah, you could,
But like,
and I think ironically, I think this film maybe is more Chucky than the first film was, except as far
yeah,
as the tone,
tonally, yeah,
So I don't know, it's look, if you had any interest in seeing this film, go see it. You'll probably enjoy it.
yep,
If you're dead set on it being a horror film, you might be disappointed in that regard. But if you weren't, and I don't even does that film? Could you make that film? Probably. But I'm going to be honest. I think that film would take a lot more thought than what this film did, and not that this film is completely void of intelligence, but it certainly it's an easier idea than I think. How do you make a second film keeping M3GAN as you know?
right, yeah. I
Anyway,
get it. I get it. I hear you. So yeah, that is M3GAN, M3GAN 2.0, I should say.
yeah,
It is 2 hours long, which I believe is a little longer than the first one.
it is, but I will say that it doesn't feel excessively long at any point.
No, it moves along pretty well. There's not a lot of drag, and there's quite a bit of blood
Yeah, about as
in
much
this
as they could as they could get away with, I think.
in a PG-13 film.
Yeah,
So yes, you get
there is the one F word as well.
yes. Well,
You know,
so yeah, so it did
the,
okay at the box office. Hopefully, it
yeah.
gets some word of mouth and hangs out.
I guess you look at this and the question would be: is there an R-rated cut of this, and should it have been R-rated? And maybe you could. I don't know. I don't know. The violence isn't what the selling point of this one is anyway. So it probably doesn't matter that much. There is a great decapitation moment
Oh my
early
god!
on in the film that where you're like, oh, okay.
Yes. Good morning.
Um, yes. Anyway, I
Yeah.
can't believe that is not a phrase I woke up this morning thinking I was going to say. A great decapitation
Great
moment.
decapitation scene.
Mhm.
Right.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Anyway, there
There.
is. Nonetheless, there is.
Yep. So there you go. That is M3GAN 2.0 in theaters now. Go and check it out. Don't forget to follow us, share us on social media. Go to the website, vsmoviepodcast.com. You'll get links to all of that stuff and all of our posts. Go see something good in theaters. We've got a lot of stuff to talk about, which we're going to be getting to. Let us know how you think we're doing, if we're right or wrong, or if we missed a movie that you want us to talk about, old or new. Doesn't really matter. We'll talk about any movie, really. So, till we talk to you again, be good, stay safe. I'm Mark. That is Ryan. Bye, Ryan.
See you, folks.
And we will talk to y'all later. Bye bye.